Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Nick Fair from the IT Innovation Centre at the University of Southampton, and I'm here today with my colleague
Dr. Stephen Phillips, also from the IT Innovation Centre.
So, we are now coming on to looking at how we can actually model a system. We're going to begin by looking at how Spyderisk will model the Acme Sales Company's standard customer sales process and data and system flows. The Spyderisk Cybersecurity Risk Assessment tool allows you to model systems in terms of the hardware, the software, data, processes, people and places to give you a comprehensive model of a system and to identify the risks to that system. To begin with, we will start by modelling the data and processes layer of the system. So Stephen, what do we do?
Yeah, thanks Nick. So with these models of systems, it helps to think about it in terms of different layers. So we're going to make a model of the main software processes that this company that we're imagining would be using for their sales system. On the left of the screen we have what's called the asset palette, with different sorts of assets available to add to your system. So different data assets at the top, a jurisdiction, different sorts of hosts, that is computers. You've got different network assets like Wi-Fi and Ethernet wires. You've got software processes, quite a lot of different sorts of those. Different types of spaces where things can reside, and then the stakeholders, adults, children, organisations. So for the data and processes, we need to look at those areas of the palette. Let's go to the process, and in this sales company what we're going to do is have a web browser used by the sales manager, and the sales manager is going to use that web browser to access the sales system. So all I did there was just with drag and drop pulled something from the asset palette and dropped it onto the canvas. It's been given a default label. Labels in the model have to all be different, so it adds a random string of characters to the end, and I'm just going to edit that by clicking on the label to give it something a little more friendly. So that's the web browser, that's our starting point. Web browsers communicate with web servers, so we're going to need a web server. There isn't a specific process here to represent a web server, so we just use the generic application process as it's called, but we'll rename it as web server so that we know what it is. And there's our first two assets, but one thing about Spyderisk is when building these system models we also build up a comprehensive description of the relationships between the assets, and to do that you can just drag an arrow from one to the other and it gives you lots of different options for how to relate those two assets. Some going from the web browser to the web server, some from the web server to the web browser, and as you hover over each option it gives you more information, and all we want in this case is the most common option, which is that one process uses the other, as it says, for some purpose. So we can just select that and it adds the arrow in from one to the other. So that's our first bit of the model, making sense so far. As with most companies, this sales company is going to use a database, and there's a special process for the database. We have a specialization of the application process for the database because databases have particular cybersecurity flaws and issues with them that we want to model. So you might have heard of an SQL injection attack, for instance. So we need to have a asset in the model that is specifically a database so that we know that we can model and find those SQL injection attacks on that asset. We're going to join this up again with the web server using the database, and we've got a little chain here of processes. Now, Nick, this database here,
Yep.
you can see it's got this square set of arrows around it, just like the other processes, and that's because it is the software process. So all the software processes have a very similar look to them with arrows going round, and it's really important to know that that's not actually the data.
I see. So the database is the process, but not the actual data.
Yeah. So these application processes, they're software that is running in the memory of the computer, because if it was just stored on the disk and you hadn't run it, well, that's not going to be causing anyone any problems, so we don't need to be modelling that. This is the software that is running as a process in the computer. So this is your Oracle database or your Access database or MySQL or whatever it is. And that database is the software that is going to be shuttling the data to and fro and doing the queries and the updates, but it's not the data itself.
I see. So essentially, it's the mechanics by which the data is stored and retrieved, or at least fed to the retrieving process.
Exactly. So a database is just a special sort of process for getting hold of and querying and updating the data.
Okay. So, sorry, Steve. So how do we add in the data then?
Yeah, exactly. So I've just scrolled up to the top of the asset palette, and we can drag in our data. And
so in this case, this would be the customer data, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what we're modelling here is, I mean, the sales company is going to have all of their data about things like, what they're actually selling, their catalogue. They're going to have personnel data, they're going to have payroll data, all sorts of things relating to the business. In this example, all we're going to be modelling is the fact that they'll have a database with information about their clients. So we're calling it customer data.
So things like their names, addresses, previous orders, and so
Exactly,
on.
yeah. So I put the data on the canvas. We need to connect it up with the database. So in the usual way, drag an arrow across, and you'll see there's a particular relationship here that's suitable for the case here, that the database serves the customer data.
So just to be clear here, if we look at some of these other relationships, amends, appends, creates, reads, receives, and so on, those are all possible relationships with the data, but actually in this case the database isn't doing any of that. It's just serving up the data. It's just providing that information.
Yeah, so the serves relationship covers being able to update and create and read the data. It's a particular relationship that is designed for databases. Sometimes, if we just said that the database reads the customer data, I mean, that could work, but it would be unusual because the database process is normally able to write to the data as well and change it. So this serves relationship has been designed to cover the sort of things that databases generally do.
And that would be the most usual relationship in this instance?
Exactly. So we'll select that, and there we have the database serves the customer data. The other thing we want to put in here with the data and process is that this web server, I mean, really, you could think of that as an Apache web server or something, but also with some other software in there that's making the website dynamic, letting the sales manager enter new information and so forth. So this process here is actually, I'm going to draw the arrow, I'm actually going to say that this process updates the customer data. So it's got a responsibility for, say, the sales manager can add in a new sale or update the customer address. And whilst we know that in reality, if you know anything about how these systems work, that update's going to go through the database software, but we can just put the relationship here and the Spyderisk will kind of sort out all of that business under the hood.
So it can infer the relationships.
Yeah, it works out what's really going on, whereas you can describe it in a slightly simpler way.
That makes it much easier to model.
Yeah. So there's our processes and our data. The other thing I'd like to add on is with this customer data, as we say, it is about the customer rather than, say, the catalogue. So what we could do is drag an adult in and just call this person the customer, and if I connect that up with the data, there's again a few choices, and we need the second one there. Customer data relates to the customer.
Yeah, in other words, the data's about that customer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the point of that is that for data that relates to people, you need to take extra care of it, and it's covered by GDPR regulation, for instance.
Yeah, it could be sensitive data, for example.
So put our sales manager in and finish that part of the model.
So this section is the data and processes, but also, as you know, there are people connected with the data, as we've seen, and there are people connected with the processes. So alongside the data and processes layer, it would be common to also find those humans that are related to those data and processes in some way.
Exactly, yeah. So the people can appear all across the model, really. They don't fit in a single layer. So we're going to put that the sales manager interacts with the web browser, meaning that, well, as it says, they'll be sitting at their computer and clicking and typing into the web browser. There we go. So that models the basics of the process and the data. At any point when you're making one of these models, you can do what we call validating the model, and that's with this play button up here, as it says, validate the model and find threats. So if I click it, it takes a few seconds, and what it's doing is it's examining the model that you've drawn to try to spot any errors or things that might be wrong or might be okay, but we just want to warn you about. And then it's also finding all the threats to the system that you've drawn. So it quite quickly came back and said that there are unaddressed possible modelling errors, and we can see on the right hand side that we've got a panel here in red showing that we've addressed 0 out of 5 possible modelling errors.
Okay, so this model's not complete yet then. We've got a couple of things to sort. Well, we've got 5 things to sort out.
Exactly, at least.
At least, yeah.
So we should look at those modelling errors and then see if there's more things to add to the model.
Okay, we'll turn to that in our next video. Thank you very much, Stephen.